So nobody showed up to Donald Trump's birthday military parade. Here is a video from an NBC reporter who, as you see, is standing in the middle of an empty field. And this is as the event is supposed to be underway. Now, take a look as it zooms out. There's nobody there. That is miles of empty fields at an event where Donald Trump said there was going to be an estimated 200,000 people showing up. Now, take a look. Does that look like 200,000 people? It's barely 2,000. I mean, this is such a poor showing that I can guarantee that there were more people protesting against Trump in New York City and San Francisco and San Diego and St. Paul and Los Angeles and in New Orleans where I protested today. But we didn't have a $45 million budget to support our protests like Donald Trump has for his military parade.
So Donald Trump is facing possibly the biggest humiliation of his entire life right now. His parade, his military birthday parade in D.C. appears to be a complete and total dud. Trump was expecting over 200,000 people to show up in D.C. for this parade. Estimates are now that just about 10,000 people maybe showed up. The images show barely anybody there, and I've talked to some people in D.C. who are on the ground who say that it feels like a normal Saturday and say that it actually might even feel a little quieter than a normal Saturday. I should say also that this parade had to start 30 minutes early because they were worried about the weather, because it's literally going to rain on Donald Trump's parade. And let me show you the video so you can see it for yourself. This is the crowd or lack thereof at Donald Trump's event today. This is just slightly before the event was about to start. I mean, look at that.
What's up, YouTube family? Welcome back to my space. This is Ivan Strayola. Guys, thank you so much for tuning to watch this specific episode. I do not take your support for granted. So guys, on today's video we want to discuss Trump's possible worst day ever as the president of the United States of America. This happened on Trump's birthday, you know, where he organized for a parade in Washington DC, and he was very disappointed because not so many people turned up, you know, for the parade. We also saw the military personnel marching in a way that they suggested that they are together with Americans. You know, they were marching like tired people, and that just shows you that the military of the United States of America for the first time showed that indeed they're also tired with the presidency of Donald Trump. We've seen on the very same day there was the No King's Day protest where people came out in large numbers in protest against the rule of Donald J. Trump, and this must be the saddest day that he's yet to experience ever in his life, because nobody in the parade, you know. There were few people in the parade as the No King's Day protest were all over America on the very same day. So guys, I want you to watch this series of videos as Americans, you know, react to these No King's Day protest alongside the unsuccessful parade by Donald Trump. Let us watch this series of videos. Once they're done, we will get back and do a critical analysis about the same. Let's watch this together, family.
Oh no. This is his birthday turnout. Oh dear. Oh no. In comparison, this was New York City. This is one of 2,000 locations. Look, I'm sure more people showed up for him eventually. But I don't know if enough people showed up to make up any sort of difference. And remember, this is a birthday party he had to throw himself. And most of the attendees were paid to be there. Like literally, the military had to be there.
In case no one has told you or you just don't believe it, you see how the army looked like shit marching in that little parade? It wasn't even marching. They was basically just walking out of step, just arms swinging however. Yeah, that was a fucking protest. The entire time I was in the Air Force, I was a drill and ceremonies girly, okay? At some point, it was my job as a cadet at the Air Force Academy to make sure that, wait, 4? No, it wasn't just my squadron, it was a whole group. That's 10 squadrons. Yeah, I was the drill and ceremonies person for an entire group. For those of you who know what's up, I was the adjutant at one of the Lackland graduation parades. That's why I'm so loud. Drill and ceremonies is no joke, especially when it comes to parades and shit like that. Like, rehearsed meticulously. That shit would have failed a basic inspection 10 times over. If a flight of trainees marched like that at Lackland Air Force Base, the hellfire, the brimstone, the absolute rage that would befall them. Their TI would scream so hard at them, they would throw out their back. For those of you who don't know, TI is the same thing as like a drill sergeant, but just in the Air Force. Saying all this to give you context as to why it's a big deal that they looked like shit.
I just wanted to say how proud I am of the United States military. I am proud that they did not put on a show yesterday that made me think of North Korea or Russia or China. I am proud of the fact that they are more interested in doing their jobs and being the best military in the world than they are about putting on a parade for a corrupt president. And there's a lot of debate about how intentional their marching style was yesterday, and that's fine. I don't pretend to know what they were thinking, but whatever they were thinking, the message certainly came out that they were not doing this because they were excited to be out there putting on a show, which is more in line with the philosophy of a developing nation being ruled by a fascist dictator than the tradition of the United States of America. We have never had military-style parades like they have in fascist dictatorships. And after yesterday, I don't think we ever will. So thank you to our military. I salute you.
Trump's military parade unexpectedly had an abysmal attendance count, while No Kings officially became the third largest protest in US history, with these record numbers being recorded in every state. Starting on the West Coast in Seattle, Washington, demonstrators filled the streets with official attendance counts at over 70,000, but in California, people on the beaches of San Francisco formed a huge No King sign as over 300,000 protesters marched in numerous events across the state. But the most surprising things happened in Middle America, with videos coming out of Chicago showing nearly the entire financial district covered with demonstrators, whilst hundreds of smaller protests took place across cities and suburbs from Michigan to Texas. And finally, on the East Coast, videos from Trump's military parade show that far less than the expected 200,000 people attended, while cities like New York, Philadelphia, and Boston saw combined protest sizes reaching over 600,000, bringing the total of all 2,100 protests nationwide to around 5 million people.
79 years of life, and this is Donald J. Trump's worst birthday ever. And that's saying something, because we know he was teased as a kid, because, I mean, wouldn't you tease the guy? Look at him there. He's so disappointed. It's my party. I can cry if I want to, but I have to be strong. I have to be a tough Republican man. Melania's there like, dude, I cannot believe you made me show up for this. There's like a few thousand people here. This is embarrassing, man. What are you doing? Pete Hegseth's over there like, oof, this is kind of rough, man. I gotta text the boys in the group chat, see if we can get a drink after this. This is absolutely brutal. What a complete failure from this group of incompetent people. Today was an absolute failure for them. No Kings protests, millions nationwide, every big city, all 50 states standing up against fascism, standing up against dictators who think they can throw some North Korean Kim Jong-un, look at me, I'm the man type parade. Well, listen, Donald, the people have spoken today, and the people want you gone.
So Trump's birthday parade just wrapped up in Washington, and yes, it ended exactly how you think it did. Crowds were led in a chant of "Happy Birthday, Mr. President," as Trump stood and raised the platform with his hand over his heart, soaking it all in. But what you won't see on Truth Social are the empty sections along the parade route, despite Trump claiming 1 million people would show up. Fox News' Pete Hegseth visibly frustrated, by the way. And outside the main route, thousands of protesters gathered, signs reading "No Kings, Hands Off Los Angeles," and "Trump is not above the law," and of course, several taco references that have to do with Trump. But let's go ahead. Inside the birthday celebration, it was a full cult of personality. Trump supporters were red, white, and blue. Many even sang he's a jolly good fellow. And yet behind the scenes, sources say the White House is frustrated by the low turnout. They had to bus in supporters from out of state. And even then, large sections of the National Mall remained completely empty. What does this tell us? A president who uses the military and taxpayer dollars for a personal parade isn't really celebrating America. He is celebrating himself, and it is pissing even his supporters off. So follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and Substack for full updates, breaking news, and all reports. See you on the next video.
So Donald Trump is facing possibly the biggest humiliation of his entire life right now. His parade, his military birthday parade in D.C. appears to be a complete and total dud. Trump was expecting over 200,000 people to show up in D.C. for this parade. Estimates are now that just about 10,000 people maybe showed up. The images show barely anybody there, and I've talked to some people in D.C. who are on the ground who say that it feels like a normal Saturday and say that it actually might even feel a little quieter than a normal Saturday. I should say also that this parade had to start 30 minutes early because they were worried about the weather, because it's literally going to rain on Donald Trump's parade. And let me show you the video so you can see it for yourself. This is the crowd or lack thereof at Donald Trump's event today. This is just slightly before the event was about to start. I mean, look at that. Yikes. Meanwhile, millions and millions and millions of people were out in force at the No Kings protests across the country. Thank you to everybody who's been sharing your videos and posting them here and on other social media apps.
Well, this is how you participate in a military parade for King Trump when you don't want to participate in a military parade for King Trump. Military marching precision is a fact. This is what protest looks like. Yeah, these military servicemen might not have been participating in the No Kings rally across the country, but they were definitely participating while marching in front of President Donald Trump. Low turnout for the event was also a thing. But if you know anything about being in the military, you know one of the hallmarks of their training is marching. Marching in unity and in step. And what we witnessed take place at this parade was just walking. And not only was it just walking, but their commanders, squad leaders, and no one else tried to put them in step. Let that sink in the next time you think about martial law.
Donald Trump was caught crying during his birthday parade. At least that's how it seemed, as the whole thing was a flop. Now, multiple times today during the parade, Donald Trump was caught falling asleep, looking bored, yawning. But this moment will be the image of the parade. Take a look at this. Full pouty face by Donald Trump. It is almost something you would create with AI, but that is real. Yeah, and his whole staff during the parade looked bored. Marco Rubio was caught yawning. The whole thing was just a flop. And while a lot of you are going to say, well, it's honoring the Army, you can honor the Army. You can celebrate the 250th anniversary of the Army without honoring yourself. And that's what Donald Trump did. And we know it was for his birthday because they sang happy birthday to him and presented him with a gift at the end of the parade. The whole thing fell apart and Donald Trump's face showed it all. Meanwhile, the No Kings protest were a resounding smash hit. Smiles everywhere. Well done, America.
This is it. This is the big military parade that Donald Trump was bragging about. The one that cost between $25 and $45 million. The one that he said that if he saw any protests in the vicinity, that he was going to stop them out with force. Brother, nobody came. I mean, just look at this turnout, man. Pathetic. There are football teams that haven't won a Super Bowl in over 30 years with a bigger turnout than this. There are high school graduations that have more people show up than this. All it took was 6 months for Donald Trump to remind everyone, man, Maybe I really don't like that fucking guy. I mean, you can read it all over his face, man. There is not a sliver of happiness on this guy's face, and it touches me a little bit. I'm so happy that he's upset. Doesn't change anything, but I'm glad that my enemies have no joy in their heart. I know for a fact this is what Donald Trump had picture in his mind, man. He's gonna go to sleep crying to this picture, man. Now this is a military parade. Say what you will about North Korea, they got aura sometimes.
Okay, were any of my fellow veterans out there caught off guard by just how shitty Trump's military parade looked? I don't know about the rest of you guys, but I was genuinely shocked. Now, don't get me wrong, the United States Army has plenty of problems, but finding the pageantry and stagecraft necessary to pull off a tight public performance, not generally one of them. They pretty much nail that one every time. The presentation of the equipment was lackluster and uninspiring. The uniforms didn't look all that sharp. The marching was a horror story. Like, they're just walking. Nobody's in step. I couldn't believe what I was witnessing. I don't know. The entire thing just seemed tacky, cheap, and unprofessional to me, which is really funny when you consider the fact that they went out of their way to tell you that this was sponsored by random crypto scams.
Special thanks to our sponsor, Coinbase.
It's like a bad dream. To end on a good note, whenever I saw one of the Army marching bands, they looked pretty tight. They seemed squared away. And to end on an even better note, I love that the thing was sparsely attended. Couldn't happen to a better guy.
I think my favorite thing about Dear Leader's multi-million-dollar military parade today is the fact that there are currently hundreds of thousands of active duty service members and their families living in military housing absolutely riddled with life-threatening black mold. Truly, I am just overwhelmed with gratitude that the Commander-in-Chief is prioritizing his little strongman birthday soiree when there are tens of thousands of military children drinking poisoned water at the bases their active duty parents are stationed at. I mean, nothing shows support and gratitude for our active duty service members quite like tanks on the streets and fighter jets doing loop-de-loops over the Potomac while military wives bathe their babies in water tainted with jet fuel. As the wife of an active duty service member myself, I know that being given the opportunity to watch this little parade from the dilapidated shills that they're currently stationed at across the nation makes all of that sacrifice for their country really worth it, you know? Sure, you aren't actually able to attend the parade yourself due to being active duty and all, and sure, your barracks has exposed wiring hanging from the ceiling and walls that are literally crumbling down around you, but minor issues like basic quality of life and the health of your entire immediate family are easy to set aside when you remember that true patriotism is making sure the Commander-in-Chief, who never actually served at all, gets his big, flashy parade. I'm sure that I speak for all active duty military families when I say thank you, sir, for prioritizing what's really important and not getting bogged down by petty issues like veteran health care or service member quality of life. And I'd be remiss if I didn't take a moment to recognize all of the loyal patriots who make up the president's base as well. Thank you for not getting distracted by trivial matters like a sharp decline in veterans care after the president and his billionaire ex-BFF unceremoniously fired thousands of VA workers, or the diverting of hundreds of millions of dollars meant to improve service member quality of life programs to instead be blown on a manufactured crisis at the border, or the leaking of classified information about troop movements which could have gotten deployed service members killed, and instead focusing on what really matters, cheering on the president as he kicks out service members who have served honorably for decades because you think their gender identity is icky. Thank you for saying nothing as the president revokes the visas of Afghani translators who put their lives on the line to serve alongside our soldiers in Afghanistan, only to now be deported back to what is almost certainly a death sentence waiting for them. Thank you for co-opting the deaths of the 13 service members at Abbey Gate, despite your inability to tell us even one of their names without doing a Google search first. Truly nothing says you honor their ultimate sacrifice and the permanent grief that their loved ones must now live with, quite like weaponizing their deaths while ignoring the fact that the Afghani translators who work to keep them safe are now being sent home to be executed. So here's to you, patriots, and here's to you, Mr. Trump. Thank you for the grand display, for the tanks and the fireworks and the ego stroking. Thank you for proving once again that support the troops is just a slogan and never an actual promise.
Trump is just a vengeful little gremlin. What do you think he's going to want to do after watching yesterday's debacle? No one showing up to his parade and everyone showing up to protest him instead. He's going to do something. I just saw the travel ban additions he's weighing right now. I don't think that's the retribution he's going to decide to take. because he needs to get even with the American people. I'm waiting for something a little bit more domestic. You know what I mean? What do y'all think he's going to do? Have you already seen him do something that I'm not aware of already today? I feel like it's going to be something real headline worthy, you know? He wants everyone to know how pissed off he is at us. No matter how upset he gets and no matter what he does, it's still going to be hilarious because we all just get to watch him implode. And I do think he is going to slowly implode after yesterday. I do.
So nobody showed up to Donald Trump's birthday military parade. Here is a video from an NBC reporter who, as you see, is standing in the middle of an empty field. And this is as the event is supposed to be underway. Now, take a look as it zooms out. There's nobody there. That is miles of empty fields at an event where Donald Trump said there was going to be an estimated 200,000 people showing up. Now, take a look. Does that look like 200,000 people? It's barely 2,000. I mean, this is such a poor showing that I can guarantee that there were more people protesting against Trump in New York City and San Francisco and San Diego and St. Paul and Los Angeles and in New Orleans where I protested today. But we didn't have a $45 million budget to support our protests like Donald Trump has for his military parade. But we got bigger crowds than him, and that's going to drive him crazy. Happy birthday, fascist.
Look, I've been looking at this Donald Trump birthday parade, right? And people in the comments are like, why does the military look so sloppy? They can't even march right. They can. One of the first things you learn in basic training is literally how to walk in sync with one another. It's not very hard to do. The fact that they were not marching in sync, to me, was just a giant middle finger to Donald Trump for using the military to celebrate his own birthday and pretend like he was honoring the military. So I'm pretty sure half, if not 3/4 of the people that were marching in uniform were marching out of sync on purpose. Because, you know, when you get dressed up and are in parade, that's something you're supposed to take a lot of pride in as a military member because you represent the United States military. These people did not want to fucking be there at all. But they had to follow orders. They were told to be there, so they were there. But the one thing they could do was just not march and just walk in front of Donald Trump. I'm telling y'all, the revolution has begun, and Donald Trump and MAGA, karma is coming for you.
Family, what Donald Trump is experiencing right now in America is something that I think he deserves. Americans have been suffering under his ruling as the President of the United States of America. We've seen mass deportations. We've seen ICE raids, when even they are not sure of the houses they are raiding. We've seen Americans being raided. We've seen school-going kids being raided. We've seen massive protests, like never before under his ruling. And that just shows you that there is something wrong with the presidency of Donald Trump. The latest one being, on his birthday military parade, where he was very, very shocked. There are no people in the streets of Washington, D.C. waiting for his parade. He was expecting at least 200,000 people in the parade. Where were those Americans? Americans took to other streets on the very same day in different states to protest against Donald Trump's government in a protest they called the No Kings Day protest. And that is one of the biggest protests that America has ever experienced in his history. Family, Donald Trump is shocked right now, and these are the repercussions of the decisions he's been making since he took over office. People are tired with Donald Trump. People are tired with ICE raids each and every day. People are tired with Donald Trump giving the National Guard permission to take over the streets of Los Angeles. People are very, very tired with the ruling and the directives that are coming from Donald Trump. And people this time do not even care. You know, when you look at the numbers in the streets for the No King's Day, you know, protests, you can tell that the whole America, if not everybody, you know, is against this president. And this is now very, very evident. There are videos circulating online of the military officers, you know, parading like they do not want, marching like without order, like they are tired. If there is something that the military is well trained in, is in their marching. That is the basic thing they can do. When you saw the videos as they were parading, you could tell that these people are tired, you know, and this is one of the ways that they can communicate to the president that they themselves were also protesting in that very day. Donald Trump looked very, very sad. You know, multiple of times he was seen sleeping, wondering what is happening. He was very shocked, and himself, he mentioned he didn't anticipate to see that low turnout in numbers of Americans in Washington, D.C. in the day. Americans instead chose to take on streets in different states, you know, and ensure that now they show that they are tired of this bad ruling by Donald J. Trump. There's this Florida police officer who decided that he will not take any people in the streets. You know, he even threatened this sheriff from Florida. He threatened Americans and told them that, yo, you do not know what is coming for you. If you go for this protest and you're not peaceful, I'll do this and this for you. You know, your families will come for your body, your dead corpse, you know. And people of Florida showed him dust on that day. They came out in large numbers in the streets. They came out in large numbers for the No King's Day protest. All over America was massive numbers, massive protests like never before. Since the ICE protest started, this is actually the biggest one ever, on the very birthday of Donald J. Trump. I think this is a time for reflection for America, for America's president, Donald Trump, to now start rethinking of what he's been doing since he took over office. I think the best decision that is yet to be done in the near future, if he doesn't change, there could be another attempt, you know, to remove him from office. And I can see this coming very, very clearly because the power belongs to the people. And Americans have showed in all colors, all races, black, white, you know, and Latina, Asian, Indians. We've seen Americans come out in large numbers and say enough is enough. Enough with Trump's ruling. You know, Americans are so tired, man. And if you saw the numbers, you know, in the streets, from those videos that I've posted right there, you can already tell that Americans have decided and they won't turn back. And it's time that they must be heard. We've seen similar protests before. We've seen similar protests in Africa, in Kenya, in June last year, where Kenyans said enough is enough, and they took to the streets, and the government of the day was forced to hear them. The government of the day was forced to change some of these rulings that they make that do not sit well with its citizens. Because I believe that in any government, the citizens vote in the leaders for their interests to be sorted. You know, if they were going through problems with ICE raids, you know, the ICE officers should handle the arrests better, you know, after another leader is elected. But right now, Americans are seeing even worse decision come from their leader, Donald J. Trump. That's why it was crazy. It was actually very shameful for Donald Trump. In his parade, no people and Americans standing against him and saying it's time that he stops doing whatever he's been doing over time. Guys, let me know in the comment section down below what you think about the No King's Day protests and people not showing up for the parade, the birthday parade the military parade by Donald Trump? Let me know in the comment section down below. Kindly do consider subscribing to the channel. We are currently on the road to 50,000 subscribers, and guys, we cannot do this without your support. Share this video widely, comment, and let us learn together, guys. Let us create a conversation on the comment section down below, and I'd really appreciate. Thank you, guys. Goodbye.